Alright guys, so it's already starting to get warmer out. People are starting to ask questions in forums, on Facebook and Reddit, even in person, and everybody's looking for the best fertilizer to use in the spring. Now I got some good news and some bad news. Now the bad news is, for most of us it's still too early. You can start planning now so that you have the best stuff. Now I got a couple types of fertilizers here. The most common will be Step 1. This is the Scott's Pro version. But there's also, Scott's Step 1. Then there's Ace Hardware has their own version. A whole bunch of different companies have their versions. Now, it's a fine fertilizer, but it's actually not the best one, especially for the first time you fertilize in the spring. And I'll tell you why. If you got something like Milorganite, boom, that stuff looks like this. It's basically ground up, dried up, cooked sewage. It's a really great fertilizer. It's natural, so it will naturally break down in the soil, and that works with the microbes eating it and processing it. Now for springtime, the reason that's great is because the microbes aren't really going yet, and neither is your grass. And you don't want to be feeding your grass tons of fertilizer before it's ready. So by using something like Milorganite or Bay State fertilizer, you're actually, it's like a safe method of letting nature do its course. Because if you force it too quick, you'll get shoots of top growth, but the root system isn't woken up yet, and fertilizer can be wasted because there's some people who were out cutting grass a few weeks ago, now they got piles of snow. So it's really too early. But if you really want to get something down, pick up some Bay State fertilizer or some Milorganite. Another question people ask is, what about Starter Fertilizer? Boom! Now, there's this misconception that Starter Fertilizer has some kind of magic ingredients that make everything better. It doesn't. The only difference is the NPK ratio is different. And that's great when you've got new grass that you're planting. Studies show that it needs those extra benefits. But in general, you don't need starter fertilizer, even for seeding. Some people would argue it's not necessary, because your soil should have the nutrients. And if it doesn't, you should be amending those nutrients themselves instead of just sticking down more stuff. Because maybe your lawn already has too much potassium and now you're throwing down more potassium. That's not going to help long term. So what you should be doing is doing a soil test every year, getting that back, and then you'll know, okay, this is what's missing in my lawn. So, starter fertilizer isn't some magical thing. So I wouldn't recommend it unless you're actually planting new grass seed, which again would be too early right now. Another thing is, I don't know if you can see it, the bag of urea. Here, let's do some camera work. Now this fertilizer, this is straight up urea. Now you don't want to use straight up urea, especially at this time of year, because it's likely to be wasted. Your lawn isn't going to soak up all that nitrogen, and so it's just you're adding more nitrogen to the environment. There's the runoff, all that stuff. It's not worth it. It's wasting money. That's why if you use the Step 1 product in the spring, if you're going to just go do that whole 4-step process, at least those products are slow release. That white nitrogen is fast. It just you can fertilize every week. Some people do that, and it's crazy, but in small doses you could fertilize that every week and it just soaks it up right away. Whereas this slow release, it will slowly release that nitrogen over weeks, so that way there's not that stunt of activity with the grass, and it's just a slow natural release. But still, the other problem with Step 1, at least right now, is it's got the pre-emergent barrier, and you want to put that down when it's time to put down pre-emergent, not when it's time to feed the grass for the first time. That's why I like using Bay State fertilizer for the first time. Then once the lawn starts to go on its own, you see it's growing, maybe after a first cut or two, then you can start fertilizing it more if it really needs it. But you know, don't go crazy with the fertilizer in the spring. It actually, the most important fertilizing is in the fall. So you might have missed that last year, that's fine. You might have to, you know, give it some extra nitrogen to, you know, keep things going. But really, the way the grass works is it should have all this stored up already. And another word of caution is don't go too crazy, because in the springtime, the grass is going to start growing crazy anyways. And if you go heavy on the fertilizer, you're going to be cutting every day. So, you know, use the Bay State fertilizer. It's natural, it's organic, it's going to take time to break down. That's really the best fertilizer to use in the spring. And then, you know, if you're really set on going with just that fertilizer, you can do pre-emergence without the step 1 products. You can buy it separately. Mine's up there. I'll do a video on that too. It's actually a lot simpler. I used to just do the 4-step system because I was afraid to do any sprays and to do other stuff. I thought it was a lot more complicated. So I'll show you guys that when it's time, and I'll do a whole bunch of videos on that. So right now, my recommendation, if you're near Massachusetts, Bay State fertilizer in the spring, you can literally put as much as you want down, as often as you want down, without killing your lawn, which is good. I don't recommend doing that because you're gonna have to mow a ton, but it's helpful for people, you know, like me before, when I didn't know what I was doing, I could just throw it down and not worry about it. If you're not in that area, whoa, this bag is full. Milorganite. So, if you don't know, Bay State fertilizer is basically a local version of Milorganite. It's the same process, they do the same thing. The difference is you get it way cheaper if you buy it from the factory. So there are local versions. I think there's one called Ocean Grow. I've heard of different ones. If you know, feel free to comment. And yeah, there you go. That's the best fertilizer to be using in the spring. Alright, I appreciate you guys watching my videos. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. It's what makes this really enjoyable and fun, making all these videos. And be sure to check out the ones below. Have a great day. Bye.